a violent fever dream, an aching migraine, an assault on the senses that leaves you scrambling for the exit. It leaves you in a panic, but in that panic, you find momentum. 𝙂𝙂𝙢 released in August of this year and is a relatively small indie title that grew into an underground hit. I myself heard of the game through watching a video of it from another content creator. As some would describe the game, it's the love child of Hotline Miami-esque room clearing. And classic Doom ethos. Like Doom, the level design is linear and cubic in fashion, with horizontal aim being the main focus, and like Hotline Miami, its gameplay loop revolves around fragility. Just as you are susceptible to dying quickly, so too are your enemies. Throw in a dash of roguelite, along with a unique visual style, and you have a winning formula. One that has you constantly hitting replay, trying to outdo your high score. That is, assuming you could tolerate the visuals. Unlike the games mentioned, 𝙂𝙂𝙢's game design is one that has the player in a state of paranoia, and it's that paranoia that drives a player's decision making. It is the catalyst that keeps us on edge and brings all of our senses to a razor-sharp focus. Observe the game's Steam page. 𝙂𝙂𝙢 is a hypnotic scramble of early first-person shooter design that values speed above all else. The key word in that sentence is speed. A player's success does not rely on whether they can kill everything in a level, but on how fast they can reach the end, and that urgency is emphasized with the game's design. On the left is your health bar, named the idol. Along with getting hit, the idol will naturally lose liquid if you aren't killing enemies to replenish that liquid. This rewards those who can reach the end as fast as possible while retaining enough kills to sustain what damage they take. It sounds simple, but factors exist to balance it out. The roguelite nature of the game means levels and enemies are procedurally generated. This means that players cannot memorize each level. While the direction you need to move is clear, it starts to get trickier once you reach level 4. By then, the game introduces verticality, which can mess with your perception greatly if you are low on health and have no clue where you're going. Then we add the enemies into the mix. The general roster behaves similarly to what you may see in a classic shooter, except tinkered to eliminate your speed. As nearly all the enemies die in one hit, they instead try to slow you down and overwhelm you. 3 enemies of note are the drones, flesh walls, and bulb hands. The drones are very weak, however, if they are in your path, they can slow you down or distort your vision. The bulb hands function the same, small cannon fodder that can visually distort you. The difference is that their effect is much stronger, and they are situated closer to the ground. I mentioned that verticality can mess with your view of the level, so aiming down can cause some distortion. But it is better to sacrifice a few seconds of discomfort. Than to let them blind you and make you lose momentum. The third interesting enemy is the flesh wall. What they lack in damage output, they make up in being a nuisance. Depending on their placement, they can block you and require you to aim for the center of mass to eliminate them. If you have enemies chasing you, then you may run into the risk of being swarmed. Alongside the value of speed, good aim and game sense is also valuable. Your ability to land critical hits rewards you with a steady flow of liquid into your idol, as well as effectively creating a path for you to dress. However, panic also plays into your decision making and skill. It's a race to the finish, and knowing when and where to kill enemies is essential. You don't always have to kill enemies, and in most cases it's much better to just ignore them. But a small mistake can cost a lot. Miss a crucial shot, or leave too many enemies to chase you, and you may run the risk of your run coming to a screeching halt. However, it's not as punishing as you may think. Spamming is just as viable of a tool as clean and precise shots, and when you are low in health, it can be a lifesaver. Thus, combat becomes this interesting dynamic of cleanly taking down enemies, but also brute forcing your way through with a spray of gunfire. Another clear way for Paranoia to push you forward. We certainly cannot talk about the game's state of Paranoia without bringing up its visuals. The art style is the game's strongest asset, the blend of hand-drawn pixel art, blown out with its garish color palette, and visual effects that are seizure-inducing. And you have a game that's not only visually interesting, but actively messes with you. It's a bad trip, a throbbing migraine that won't stop, and you want to get to that next checkpoint to catch a moment of peace. Despite what I have said, the game has its ways to help with clarity. For one, the sounds of headshots are punchy, thus it cuts through all the noise. In between levels, you have a chance of picking up a mutator called explosive rounds, exploding an enemy's corpse when they die. Alongside the benefit of crowd control, it also acts as a visual indicator for when you kill an enemy, as an explosion is easy to see through all the visual chaos. A very worthy thing to pick up should you struggle with your runs. The combination of all the elements distill the experience down to intense bursts of paranoia, leaving you pumped with constant adrenaline. This gives post-forward a refreshing sense of speed as you are constantly moving forward. It's a blessing that the game is quite short really, and its roguelite elements aren't delved into further. It understands that it doesn't have to be more than what it is. 10 to 20 minutes of intense chaos that you could theoretically finish in under a few hours. So, should you delve once more into post-void? Should you lose yourself in a nauseating scramble to the finish? Always keep in mind that paranoia is the momentum. Thank you for watching, and take care.